Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Arlene Miller. I'm the chairman of the MRF Advisory Board, and it's my pleasure to act as the moderator for this virtual session of a presentation about the MRF Contract Extension. I'm looking at Jan's agenda, which she hasn't posted up on the screen yet, which is fine, but I wanted to let you know we're going to be hearing from the MRF operator, Mike Moores, who's the works at the MRF every day. We'll also be hearing from corporate, the area director of recycling operations, Mr. Bernie Fosu, who's here with us. And then you'll have a detailed presentation by Jan of the details of the contract extension, what's the same and what's different. And we hope we have a lot of Q&A during that time. And we'll be talking about, I've sort of suggested we do a virtual tour. Maybe at the end of this, we have a video we can show if folks want to see it about the interstices of the MRF and how it operates, both the bottle and can side and the paper side. And we want to share with you answer any questions you have. We hope you ask them, and Jan will instruct you if she'll take them during the presentation or not. That would be her call. So I just wanted to start by saying I'm excited about this MRF contract extension for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons is I think the model is just, it's so special and it's very unique. And it started, this building has been here for 34 years. You may or may not know this, but the state built this at a time when recycling was just starting to become an entity, a thing in the state and in our communities. They decided to do an experiment, and they chose Western Massachusetts as the spot to do their experiment. And their experiment was to build a processing facility for recyclables, thinking that if they built it, people would come. And as it turned out, it was a very successful operation. And it was successful because, one, it was a partnership between the state, that is the government, the private sector, that is the operator, and the communities. And that partnership has kept us strong, focused, and operating very efficiently for 34 years. So it's a cornerstone in my mind of the success of this operation.
Yep. Yeah. So we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, I know when we met last week, we had a moment of silence just to kind of honor the memory of Margarita, who worked at the site for 34 years. And she was there when we were laying the first stone and was an incredible leader and teacher for everyone that she worked with. So we really want to appreciate the MRF Advisory Board and everyone for helping us honor her memory. We also planted a tree, which is growing. And whenever you are there, please take a moment to check it out. Next slide, please. Yep, so just wanted to kind of highlight a few things about WM. So we are proud to be the largest recycler in North America by a huge margin. And last year, for instance, we recovered about 15 million tons of material, and a third of that were processed within our own facilities. So over the last 5 years, over the next 5 years, starting from 2 years ago, we are investing about $5 billion in projects across the country, some of which are occurring here in Massachusetts. Avon MRF, we did a retrofit there, and also we just completed one. So we are constantly looking for opportunities to partner with our communities and neighbors, and just continue to turn waste into a resource. So what that means, bringing that into perspective, is that New England contributed our own quota of about 7.5% of whatever waste management in general was processing. So we are a huge part of waste management, and I think this partnership, as we are going to talk about today, is a big part of that. Next slide, please.
Yep, I'm trying. Let's see. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so just wanted to kind of highlight where we are. I know, we really appreciate this partnership. So if you want to also, someone that you work with or a partner from another community is wondering where some of our other facilities are, I help oversee all of our 8 recycling related facilities in the area. So in Springfield, we have AMH on Tremont Street, and then obviously the RT MRF that we will be focusing on today. And kind of in Central Mass, we have Billerica, Avon, and we do have an organic recycling plant, the only food recycling plant in the state, also in Boston, Charlestown. And in upstate, we have a huge presence there as well, both in Syracuse and Rochester. And I think what really fascinates me about the MRF is that back in 1990, like January 16th, it was a Tuesday. That was when first processed material through the MRF. We did about 100 tons of material per day, and exactly close to 35 years later, last Tuesday, we were able to meet at the MRF to just look back to look forward, which that is the exciting conversation that we really appreciate, is that over the last 9 months or so, as we were working on the contract, the terms of the contract with Jen and Arlene and Steve from the DP, we were guided by the values that all parties really so hold dear in our partnership, and the outcome of what you will hear mostly when Jen is presenting is exactly just that. So started about 35 years ago, and we've been going strong since.
Thank you, Bernie.
Yeah.
You finished?
Yes.
Okay. Jan, you ready to show the?
Well, Bernie, do you want to just go through Mike's
Yeah,
presentation?
I can touch on Mike's as well. Yeah.
Progress.
He's done. Good.
Oops, there's the meeting agenda. Okay.
Yeah. Jan, would you like, you're going to allow for a few questions as you go forward?
Arlene, you're echoing. Maybe it's me.
Yeah, but so I think it's a really great segue starting. And kudos to Mike. He is a MRF manager over both Springfield MRFs, and he's been doing an excellent job over the years, leading our people, creating an enabling environment for us to innovate and continuously improve, which you would see or probably have already seen based on the results that we are putting out there. But I think the biggest part that we are most proud of is just the ability to continue to partner and incorporate feedback as we get from these calls and other conversations to continue to make our operations really better and safe. So once again, started operations back in 1990 and are still going strong. Around that time, there were a few other dual stream MRFs across the country, and now we can count them on our fingers. So to still be able to be standing here, one of the very last ones to be standing and going strong, is worth highlighting. Yep. So as I highlighted, in terms of kind of waste management overall, our strategy is to continue to grow, to continue to make sure that waste is becoming a resource, and that requires some investment. So about 10 years ago, specifically at the RT MRF, we did a fiber system upgrade. And then just about 5 years ago, we also worked on the commingle side. The commingle side was about $2.5 million investment, and the fiber side was just shy of 4 million. And these are investments that we hold really dear to our heart, because in this we are able to then expand our capacity as we have it today and upgrade our equipment. For us, we really want to make sure that availability is up there so that the communities that we so dearly serve could continue to have home for their resources. So just some overview on some of the investments that we've done over the years. And this we have really a great team of workforce there at the MRF, and In the picture there, for those of you who were at the MRF last week, you probably met the Pino as well. And then some of our leadership team members at the site. The one thing that we do, and this is not peculiar to the MRF at RLT, but within my area, is that every single day we will start by kind of doing safety stretches. And we use that opportunity to also just chit chat amongst ourselves and get some energy flowing and then get going throughout the day with that energy. So it's been really incredible, the kind of safety culture at the MRF there. And we are proud of that and want to be able to continue doing that. And I mentioned some of those things because sustainability is really safety, right? Safe operations is one of the key drivers of sustainability. As we are running safe, we do have a record of, it's not just volume, it's also value, right? So we really make sure that our values are represented day by day. And this picture is a good example where the team had just finished some of the stretches on our red day and everyone came together to take a picture. So yeah, we do have about 16 employees at the site. And I think we are, based on this partnership, right, there are really a lot of great things coming out of it. And we want to show it, right? We want to pay that forward by opening our doors to, students in the area and just MRF tours in general. And Steve Ellis has been super helpful helping to lead those. We've done over 20,000 people have toured through the MRF over the 35 years that we've been operating, and that number will continue to grow. So we look forward to kind of partnering in that regard. And the other thing that I'll mention is that at the MRF, as maybe those of you who were able to see it, but even for those who were not there last week, we have two separate lines. We do have a fiber line, and then we also have bottles and cans lines. And the flexibility that gives us is that in all of my other MRFs, if a piece of equipment that is central to the operations were to go down, we will have to be down until that material, that component is repaired. Whereas over here, because of the dichotomy between fiber versus non-fiber, as you saw, regrettably, when you were there, we couldn't see the Comingo side running because there was a maintenance issue the previous night, but that didn't prevent us from running the fiber side. So I think that is the flexibility that we have where when 110 goes online, and thank you, Amy. Yeah, the fiber line is paper and cardboard. So yeah, we have that separation between the two, and one going down doesn't take the other down. And mostly our uptime has been really great. Usually we will only shut down at the MRF because of Mike's incredible leadership, prioritizing safety and maintenance. We will typically only shut down to do like preventative maintenance so that we are being proactive and minimizing unplanned downtimes, and look forward to continuing to do that. Next slide, please.
Great. That's it?
Yep.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bernie.
Jan, it's all you.
All right. Well, thank you for showing up. Let me find my presentation now. There we go. So I would invite you, if you have questions, to unmute yourself and just start talking, because the way, there we go, the big reveal here. I can't see everybody's picture, so if you raise your hand, I won't necessarily see it. So feel free to just unmute and jump in. So we're currently working under a 5-year contract. So in 2019, towns had the opportunity to sign on to basically a 15-year contract in 5-year increments. So we're just about finishing up. We're in year 5 of the first 5 years, and what we wanted to present to you today, and we can continue to have conversations about this. So don't feel like this is your only opportunity to ask questions. You can certainly reach out to Arlene or I if you want a presentation for your town specifically, or you have some questions afterwards, or you're just not sure about something. I'm going to do my best to explain the financial pieces and kind of how things are going to be calculated. So it is, there are some different components to it this time around. So again, if you have questions or you're not quite sure about something, really feel free to ask. Okay. Oh, and so we do have a little bit of a short window. The extension agreement requires that towns sign and submit their copy by December 31st. So, it's kind of far away and not far away. I wanted to start with what is staying the same. So as I just mentioned, it's a 5-year term. So this is a second 5-year term. The contamination limit is still 15% by weight. And what that means is if there's some gross contamination, it has to be, let's say on the paper side, it has to be 15% or more by weight. And that's actually quite a lot. When we were at the MRF last week, I asked how many loads have been rejected at probably 34 years, and it's been 1. So waste management does not, at least my experience is waste management does not look at this as an opportunity to reject loads. They really want to work with communities, and there's language in the existing contract that requires them to reach out to a community first if there's some contamination. However, my point on this is towns do an amazing job keeping their contamination. When we say contamination, we mean people throwing things in they shouldn't, like plant pots, right? I see plant pots a lot in bottles and cans. So towns are doing an excellent job already of keeping those kinds of things down to a minimum. The current contract allows communities to separate glass, to collect it separately and ship it to the MRF to be recycled and get a $5 credit on the processing fee. Currently, the town of Orange is the only town that's doing this, and that's one of the towns I work with. So I'm happy to work with people to help you calculate or look at whether that might be a benefit to your town. The current contract, and I'm going to go into this in the next couple of slides, there's something called an average market value, which is the value of 1 ton of recyclables. And the current contract and the extension gives the communities a credit for 100% of the market value. So if the value of a ton of recycling is $70, that's 100% of that, $70 gets taken right off the processing fee. So which is really, which is a bonus, a great thing. Okay, so here we go. Average market value, AMV. You may receive, someone in your town receives a report every month from Mike Moores, the manager of the facility, that tells you what the AMV is. And what we've done is we've looked at the percentages of bottles and cans that make up 1 ton of dual stream recycling. And then the MRF operator is required through the contract, their existing contract, to use a market index. So they're looking at specifically the New York market index for recyclable materials. And I'm going to go into the details of this maybe in the next slide, I think. So they're looking at the value of each component, different types of plastic bottles, glass bottles, aluminum cans, metal cans, corrugated cardboard. And they put that together into the average market value for the month. And that's deducted from the processing cost. So you can see this year we're paying, our base fee is $103.21. The average for July to October, the average value, average market value has been $80.53. So towns on average have been paying $24.59 per ton for their recycling for both bottles and cans and paper. I believe in October, this number was $30. So the AMV was about 70 and 73. Okay, feel free to ask questions. Oh, and so I should point out that back in 2022, when the market was really crazy, these were during kind of the end of the COVID years, COVID months. The value of the material was so high that towns were getting paid. So in fiscal 2022, towns were getting paid and got paid an average of $22 a ton. Okay, I guess I saved the AMV for another slide. So let's get into this is really kind of the nuts and bolts. These are the new components. The existing contract increases by 2.5% every year. And we were able to maintain that, which is no easy task in these economic times. So the price, let me just go back. So we're paying $103.21 this year. 2026 goes up 2.5% to $105.79. So that's the base processing fee. And then the processing fee increases by 2.5% every year for 5 years. However, we know, most of us who purchase items or contract for services, we know that 2.5% is a pretty small increase these days. And during the pandemic years, I think the CPI was over 6%. I'm seeing hauling contract increases of 8% and sometimes even higher. So Waste Management really needs 3.5%. And what we increase each year. And so what we decided to do, what we worked with them on is, and this is a little confusing. So again, ask questions, just unmute and ask if you have a question. So this processing fee goes up 2.5% every year. And then there's a 1% increase, but it's deducted from that AMV. So remember I said that October was, the AMV was $70 a ton. Well, under this scenario, in the first year that it comes into effect, instead of $70 a ton, it would be $69 a ton. So towns would get a dollar less credit on the value of the material. So the first year, your increase is really just 2.5%. There's no processing fee adjustment. And then in years 2 through 5, there's a 1%. This is 1% of the previous year. So 106 is 1% of 105.79. That gets taken off the value of the material. This looks a little funny. You might look at those numbers, the 1%, and say, well, $2.14 is not 1% of 108 processing fee. So I'm just looking at this 214 and 108. That's because this number is cumulative. So they have to get that 1% has to be included every year in the total. And I can't tell you how many times I went and recalculated this, because logically you look at that and you think that doesn't make any sense. But when you work out the numbers, if you literally started and added 3% to these numbers, you would come out to exactly these calculations, 116 plus 439. So it's a little different way of, we kind of split up the 3.5% increase. And again, it may seem complicated, but what we wanted to do was we wanted to use the value of the materials, which has been consistently high for 5 years. We wanted to use the value of the material and take the deduct off the value of the material instead of adding to your base processing fee. So this calculation actually saves the towns a little bit. By year 5, you actually save a little bit of money doing it this way instead of straight 3.5%.
Yeah, Jan, I have just a comment to Sarlene. This may look confusing, and it probably is to many people, but this whole idea of a processing fee is universal among recycling processing facilities all over the country. This is not unusual to us. What's unusual to us in this contract extension is the low 2.5% increase. And also that under this contract, the towns they pay the net fee. So we get 100% deduction from the AMV. That's very unusual in this kind of a circumstance. So if you just look around to any other recycling facility, this is very unusual and very good for the communities.
Great.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm gonna pipe in here just say that there are some municipalities in Eastern Massachusetts who do not even receive the value of their material. There are a couple contracts out there, they pay the full processing fee and they do not get any of the value back.
Yeah, thank you, Susan.
Right. And I think that just goes, you know, those of us who are in it, those of us on the MRF Advisory Board who have been working with the MRF and waste management and DEP for decades, we know that this is a really unusual arrangement in the Commonwealth, and we're really grateful for it, and we desperately want to keep it going because, as Susan said, we know that our peers in other communities further east are not getting this. Certainly, they're not getting a 2.5 or 3.5% increase, annual increase, but they're not getting the value of the materials that we get. So when we started out in 2019, we had communities were delivering about 17,000 tons a year. Overall, just generally, so during pandemic years that you know, people were staying home, they were buying a lot of things online, there was a lot of Amazon boxes, and so the volume increased, but now it has gone down, and so what we're seeing really in the region, waste management has seen this and we're seeing this too, is in general there's a decrease of about 7% of recycling tonnage. And some of that is because people hear the news saying, you know, your recycling is just being thrown out, which is not the case. I can say 100% that it's not the case at the Springfield MRF. Materials do get recycled, and the MRF Advisory Board monitors markets and outlets. So some people feel like it's worthless, but a lot of it is just lightweighting. So as you can imagine, it's in all manufacturers' best interest to lightweight their products. So you know, more and more things are not in glass; they're in maybe aluminum or thinner aluminum. And I know during the pandemic, we switched our newspaper subscription from hard copy to electronic, and we've never gone back. So there are fewer magazines, there's fewer newspapers, there's just generally less material. And so when Waste Management set their original price in 2019, it was based on 17,000 tons. We're currently at about 16.8, I believe. And we've had communities curbside communities move to single stream recycling. We're not gonna go into that at the moment because that's clearly, you know, the choice that they made. But what that does is it means there's less throughput. And so for those of you who understand the economics of throughput, you need so many tons of material to come through to make your price. Right, so your processing fee is based on X number of tons moving through X number of tons of value, and we're short that at the moment. So the contract allows for this tonnage adjustment, and what it says is, you see on the right, we're starting with what we're delivering now, which is 16.8. So that $105 that I showed you, that processing fee July 1st, that's based on 16,800 tons running through the facility, paper and containers. At this moment, and we're hoping this is going to change, and Arlene and I are working with a lot of communities to add new communities or add members who left in 2019, and we're trying to get them back. But we're about at the 15.5 mark. So you can see that's here, this 15.5, 15,000 to 15.5. These are in 500 ton increments. And what this chart says is, if we only deliver 15,000 to 15,500 tons, there's going to be another deduction from the market value. And for the first year, that's going to be $10. And so it's basically, we're not paying it. We're giving Waste Management the credit through the sale of the materials. We're taking less than that 100% of the market value by adding in this $10 makeup. I'm calling it a tonnage makeup fee. So the prices, and I'm going to show you how this plays out in another slide. So the prices go up 2.5%. This is a straight 2.5% increase every year. And if we get, and as I said, we're working really to bring in more communities. If we start July 1st with 16,000 tons guaranteed, that tonnage adjustment goes down to $5. So we're working with communities, and I encourage you to think about ways you may encourage your town residents to recycle more. Maybe there are other places in town that aren't sending their material to the MRF, other municipal buildings that could. But we're kind of in this together. So the more material, more tonnage we send over that scale, the more we save collectively. The questions about this? I feel like the last two slides. Any questions? Just speak up. Oh yeah, Steve.
I need an example.
Okay.
So suppose Shutesbury sends 1 ton of recycled material to the MRF. Explain to me what the final adjustment is on that.
Okay, I think that's the next slide.
Oh, okay.
No, two slides. Hold that thought. Let me talk
right.
about the A and B, but I do have some calculations coming up.
Jan, I think John had a question.
Okay, yeah, I can't see people, so because of my presentation's not taking my screen, so just unmute and speak up.
Jan, quick question. South Hadley's transitioning to an automated system July 1st. We're going to go with single stream recycling from dual stream. So that will be different. And we are keeping our recycle center for our residents as dual stream. So what's your thoughts on the best way that we should secure, I guess, a place to dispose correctly in our best interest?
Right. Good question. Well, I know about your situation, and so we welcome the transfer station dual stream recycling at the MRF. And what we would do is when we calculate the tonnage, we would, I'm assuming you folks know what came off your curbside and what came out of your transfer station.
Yeah.
So we would just include that. So
we would still get full credit for as long as we stay with waste, as long
yes.
as
So
single
bringing your dual stream would get added, your transfer station tonnage will get added to this column.
Okay. So as long as we're bringing it to one of your facilities, the credit will still be the same, even though it's being collected differently.
Well, no, we only get credit for the Springfield, what you bring dual stream from your transfer station.
Right from, okay.
Yeah.
But you'd also need to be signing the contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if it's significantly reduced from what we're currently doing.
I mean, it'd be better if it weren't, but it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
We'll take what you want to send us. We're
Okay.
really eager to get communities to send their material, to continue to sign on. So,
yeah.
If it's just your transfer station, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to take.
Let me just say one more thing on that. So as we go through this, all of you should be seeing is just there's two basic important characteristics of every slide she's talking about. The more tonnage we can contribute and the better the market, we all benefit. There's a direct relationship between that and the communities that join benefit. And so the more communities, the more money, the more tonnage, then we all benefit. So it's like a co-op. It's kind of a neat model in that respect.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Before we get into the examples that Steve had asked about, I want people to understand how the AMV is calculated, right? So as I said, someone in your community gets a report from Mike Moores every month. It's I can't remember what it's called right now, but operations report, and it has this very slide, this calculation. So in 2019, DEP hired a consultant to calculate the percentage of each material in a ton of dual stream recycling. And so that's what this recovered material composition is, right? So 21% by weight is cardboard, 1% is colored HDPE, that's like Tide bottles, natural HDPE, milk, like milk jugs, PET plastic #1, or soda and water bottles, right? So we're using this chart, and it changes a little bit next year, but it's basically the components of what makes up a ton of recycling. I said earlier also that the contract requires Waste Management not to just make up a number, not to tell us, well, we think cardboard is valued at $20 this month. They have to use a market index. So that's an index. There's a company, Recycling Markets, that goes out and finds out what people are selling their cardboard for, what MRFs are selling their cardboard for. And that becomes the average value for the New York and New England region. So in October, the value of cardboard was $87.50 a ton. 21% of this of a ton is cardboard. And so the actual value of cardboard in 1 ton coming into the MRF is $18.52. So this is done for every material. You can see we pay for glass. It does get recycled. Most of it does get recycled, but it's not, Waste Management's not getting paid. So we pay, and that number can change. We pay whatever their cost is. You can also see that 3 through 7s is a negative number. That's a cost. So when Bernie was showing the slide, and there was something that said T-Tech, Waste Management just invested, or a couple of years ago, invested a couple of $1 million on a piece of equipment that can separate out number 5, which is polypropylene. And so that's being separated out, but honestly, we do not have, and I don't think anybody in the state, maybe in the country, has a market for 3, 4, 6, and 7. We collect that material because it brings in more 5s, more recyclable, and there was a time when we could recycle 3s and 4s. And so we continue to keep that added in to try to get more 5s. What Waste Management does is they take the cost of the plastic that they can't recycle, and then they deduct the value that they're getting for number 5. So this sounds a little bit complicated, but basically you can see we're paying about $3 a ton for the non-recycling 3, 4, 6, and 7s. The last thing on the slide I want to point out is this residue number. This means what comes into the MRF that cannot be recycled, that has to be go into the trash. And consistently, the Springfield MRF has been between 5 and 7% residue. And if you just Google residue at MRFs, you will see that a lot of other facilities are 10, 15, 25%. That means, in some situations, a quarter of what residents send to a recycling facility can't be recycled. So we have a very low residue rate, and it's set at 5%. So right now it's 6 or 7%, but Waste Management can only deduct 5%. So October of 2024, which is what we're in for a couple more days, the value of 1 ton of recycling was $72.88. That was deducted from the 103. And that's why I said we're paying right now today about $30 a ton. Okay. So does this make sense? This is how the value is created. And we look at this, the MRF Advisory Board looks at this, and we often will ask Waste Management, is there a better market? Can you make more money? Can you do something for the glass? Can we help you? Can communities help you some way? High grade material so you can get more value, because as Arlene said, we all benefit, right? When this number goes up, then we all pay less. Okay, Steve, here's your first calculation. Here's the number 1. So lots of talking, lots of numbers, processing fee, tonnage adjustment fee, AMV. What does it all mean? What does it really mean to the town? So July 1st, 2025, using today's average market value of $72.88, and assuming we're in that 15,000 to 15,500 tonnage, right? The processing fee, the first year is $105.79. There's no processing fee adjustment. That's the 1%. Remember, in the first year, there's no 1% adjustment. But we do have the makeup fee, the makeup tonnage fee is $10. So technically our cost is $106.79, but the value is almost 73. So you would pay with these numbers, you would pay $42.91 on July 1st. I have a couple of these, so let me get to them. Okay. So year 2 of the contract, this is now FY27, that 1% does kick in, right? So the processing fee went up 2.5% to $108. The 1% of the previous year's number is deducted. Now we're in year 2 of the tonnage adjustment fee, so the $10 went up 2.5%. So now our cost is $119, right? So here, $43, a year later, $47. Based on using this $72.88 increase.
But then Jan, again, remembering the wonderful aspects of this contract. If we get more tonnage, the $10.25 would be reduced.
And that's our goal.
And if the market increases, the AMV goes up to $60 a ton. We all benefit from those adjustments. We pay if they're down, and we benefit if they're up.
Right. Absolutely. And, the market, as way back in the beginning, there was a slide of the average cost. And I don't think towns are paying more than $60 a ton. So if you think about what your trash disposal cost is, and ours is about $102 going up to $110 next year, $60 is a pretty good deal for what we're doing at the recycling facility. Okay.
Are we going to get copies of these slides?
Yes. So this presentation is already up. I'll give you the link at the Springfield MRF website. This presentation is up there. And there's copies of the contract and kind of the summary, like the hard copy documents. But this is definitely going to be up there. And I will put after today the recording. So if somebody wants to sit through this again, or somebody in your town wants to watch it, then the recording link will be on the Springfield MRF website as well. Okay, so those previous slides were good markets, right? $70 or $73 a ton revenue. What about the worst market in the last 5 years? Well, that would be in 2023, when the average AMV was only $50, which is still not bad, but it was only $50. So again, we're in year 2. We have our base fee of $108.43. We have that 1%, $1.04, and the makeup fee, the tonnage adjustment fee is $10.25. So in this scenario, with an AMV of only $50, we're paying $69.50 a ton. And again, I just want to reiterate that these are really great prices, especially across the state. I know people who are paying, $110, $115 no matter what. So, I hope you take time to look at this. Arlene and I spent a lot of time really working to get you the best deal we could. And I'm completely confident that this is the best we can do. And as the market, hoping the market goes up and we get more tonnage in, that $69 could be, $42, could be $30. So, okay. I want to pause for a second and see if anybody has questions about any of these calculations, because this is really the crux. When you talk to your town officials or you are their town official, they're going to want to know, well, what is it going to cost? So this is what it's going to cost. These are the projections of what it could cost. Just unmute yourself and speak up if you... Nobody, no takers? Okay. All right. So all of the contract documents in this slideshow presentation are at springfieldmrf.org. There's an operations tab, and if you just click on operations, it will have a pull down menu, and there's a contract page. And this wasn't mentioned last week, but I want folks to know that both the Mass DEP Legal Counsel and the Solid Waste District's Legal Counsel reviewed the contract language, and actually the final contract that you have now is based upon edits and some minor edits and changes that both DEP and the district's legal counsel made. So you're welcome to have your legal counsel look at it, but it has been vetted basically twice. Okay,
I think
so,
there's a question in the chat.
oh, okay, I can't see the chats either.
It says how much are single stream communities paying per ton? I cannot color to it if you like, but you can go for it too.
I don't actually, I don't have that data. I know it was, I think I projected it was gonna be $115 a ton, July 1st. They get a much smaller AMV, so their AMV may be $10, $10 to $15, or $20 deduction, but don't hold me on that. I don't have those, numbers right in front of me.
Jan, why don't we try to create a sheet on that and post that on this site
Well,
for
we
community?
could.
I think it's a great question.
Okay, so here's the really, maybe the most important slide. We need your signed contracts, and you just have to sign the extension. It's about an 8-page document, I think, with the exhibit 1. So we need those back by December 31st. That's pretty crucial. You can email them to Steve Ellis at DEP, or you can mail them. We don't have a mailing address, so you can mail them to my office in Greenfield. And really, the sooner we're able to start collecting these, the quicker we'll know kind of what our tonnage is looking like. And again, Arlene and I are, Bernie, we're all willing to come to your town, whether virtually or in person, and make this presentation, or if people are confused, please feel free to follow up with us, because we want to make sure that everybody understands it and that we get all of the contracts we can as soon as possible.
Jan, I just want to add a little bit of caveat about some other benefits of signing this contract. And there are, 4 or 5 members of the MRF Advisory Board on this Zoom. Is that correct? And I'm sure they'll chime in. But one of the benefits to me as a member of my community and recycling committee in my community is the fact that there is a MRF Advisory Board representing my interests within this contract. And some of the things that the advisory board does, as Jan has already mentioned, is every month we meet with Waste Management and DEP, our partners in this process, and discuss the AMV and the markets. And we challenge them and ask them how we can improve glass, how we can improve residue, how we can get better markets for plastic. And we challenge them and we work with them. And Bernie can concur on that, which I think is beneficial. The other thing we do is we are committed, and our goal and our charge actually is to prepare public education material for all the communities that are members of this, have signed this contract. And it's a phenomenal job that many of the members of the board do. There are videos, 3 or 4 or 5 videos that they've produced. 3 times that we do 3 reduce, reuse, recycle guides throughout Western Massachusetts annually, which are full of phenomenal information for our residents. And we prepare handouts, sign boards, and I think Susan and Amy can chime in if they like to expand on what I'm saying. But that is a non-financial, doesn't jump out at you when you're reading the contract, but it's a benefit that really helps strengthen your and my recycling programs locally that help us do our work. So I think that's important for people to remember. Any other comments or questions from those of you that are here?
I do have a question. This is Gloria Farrell from Russell. I am
Go ahead.
looking at the designated community contract, amendment 1 on page 6. There's
Okay,
a chart there.
okay,
And the very top line says 16,800 and up, and it goes across and
Yep.
for each renewal year, and there are all zeros there. What does that mean? Does that mean something?
Right.
that's good.
Yeah, so the number, the base fee, the $105, when Waste Management calculated that, it was based on 16,800 tons of recycling going through the MRF each year. So if we send them 16,800 tons, then they're even and we're even, and we don't owe them any makeup amount. Any number below that means that they're not making the full $105. And so that's where that tonnage fee adjustment comes in. Does that make sense? So we're even at 16.8, and anything below that is is tonnage less than what their price was based on, and so we have to make up that cost. We have to make up that value to them through the tonnage fee adjustment.
Okay, so if the community is more than 16,800,
No,
That's everyone. That's all 60 members. So if we all collectively send 16.8, then we don't pay anything. There's no extra charge. If the
Oh.
communities pay less, send less than 16.8, and right now we're at about 15.5 based on towns that are not going to be signing because they've switched systems. That's why I was saying the more tonnage we get in, the more communities we get signed up, the more your community brings in, the less we pay.
yeah, it's a conglomeration. It's a partnership. The more we work together, the more tonnage we bring in, the better we all do.
Okay, so that's what you meant before when you said something about it's like a co-op.
Yes,
We're all in this together.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I just wanted to point out that, it's like, it's kind of like a union, really, in a way that, one voice, one small community with their high quality dual stream materials doesn't have a lot of power or voice. But when we combine all of our materials together, it's a really substantial sum that appeals to a lot of it's a commodity, right? So all of our great quality paper that doesn't have fitzels of broken plastic and glass mixed in it can be aggregated together and marketed, and it has value. So when we join forces, we're in a much stronger position to get people interested in processing our material and good prices.
A second question. I don't understand why a community would go to single stream. It is not gaining anything that way, is it?
Well,
I noticed
I'm I want to be fair to communities that have switched, and so I think it's contingent on every community to look at their system. Curbside can be different than drop off, but everybody has to look at their system and figure out what's in their best interest. So I have to trust that the communities that are switching to single stream or currently single stream, that it's in their best interest. And what I can say for my communities is, we're committed to going to the MRF because of the quality of the material and because of the value that we get back for the sale of the material. And I have to say, a lot of you may not have this direct because you're not on the MRF Advisory Board, but we have an amazing relationship with Bernie and Waste Management. And so if we have anything we don't like, we have a voice. And we have DEP backing us up. Remember, DEP is the third signator on this contract. So if something's going down at the MRF that doesn't fly, and it hasn't ever, but we have some authority to make a change or to request a change, whereas when you're working directly with a different private facility, whether it, a different recycling facility, I know, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard for me to get my, trash disposal company to make a change. They just look at me like, who are you? So I think that we underestimate, how lucky we are to have this combination where we can actually make input into this operation.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? I'm not quite seeing any chats either.
Yeah,
So
how do we get a copy of the chat?
I don't know, is that possible?
Anybody know how to do that? It used to be easy, but it seems to be more complicated now.
I don't know. I don't know if does chat show up on the recordings? Does
I
anybody
can
know
try
that?
to save the chat and we could email it to everyone.
Oh, that would be good if you had my email.
So again, I encourage you to go to springfieldmrf.org. Arlene mentioned in the beginning, there are some great videos. The MRF Advisory Board paid for a professional videographer a few years ago to take video. They're short, they're like 5 minutes, of the paper line, of the commingled line, talking about markets, and they're really informative. And so if I think most of you folks weren't able to make the in-person visit, so you didn't get the tour, but the videos really give you a look inside the operation and how the conveyor belt works and how there are human sorters pulling things off.
Jan, there was a question.
I'd like,
Donna from Belchertown in the chat. Donna, you still
I
there?
think he's just leaving his
No.
questions in chat as to contract. Question in chat as to contract document. Donna, what does that mean?
Hi, good morning. I posted it up higher. Does a contract need to be sent to both email and regular mail or either?
Either.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question.
And email is preferable because it's just going to get it's going to get electronic signatures. So if people can scan it and email it to Steve Ellis, then he'll forward it to Bernie or to Waste Management, and then Waste Management, we can forward it to DEP. So
Sure.
that's just a lot easier.
Great. Thank you, guys.
I just want to
Hi,
chime
Jan.
in to piggyback off of what was Jan was saying about the videos. We have these resources available, and I really, really encourage you to use them and share them with your residents, whether you put them on your website, whether you send them out via social media, which is another thing that the Springfield Materials Recycling Facility does, is we have Facebook and Instagram pages that are sent out to our communities, telling them about things that they can and can't recycle. And, it's a very well done and a very humorous, lighthearted way, really effective at public education. But we have posters and signs that can be put on your website, that can be put at your transfer station. We have the videos that can be sent out, if you have a townwide blast, video blast, you can send this link to this excellent 5-minute video or 4 of them out to your community members. So, these resources are here for you to use, and we really encourage you to use them. They're great.
In addition, it should be pointed out that as part of this contract that you'll be signing, Waste Management gives us $10,000 a year toward public education that we use to share with all the communities that are partners in the contract for public education. So that's what funds a lot of the productions that Susan's talking about that we can work with. So other questions? Linda, did you have a question about the contract?
Did you say it was on the MRF website? The contract?
Yep, springfieldmrf.org under operations. Just click on the operations word, and it should drop down a menu that says FY26. contract extension.
I'll let the boards know. Okay. Thank you.
I want to point out that when we had the meeting last week at the MRF, one of the things that was very exciting about the gathering was seeing people's faces and being in person. And it's nice to see your faces, those of you that are here, but it's, sometimes Zoom is blank. So this is kind of nice personally for me to meet you and see you again. And so we can relate on a more personal level. So Jan, do we have anything else to wrap up with, or anybody have final comments? Amy, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm putting the MRF's Instagram and Facebook page links on the chat, and I'm also going to copy all this to email to folks. I also put the link to the contract extension amendment that Jan was just mentioning, and I also just wanted to say that if you hear in the news that only 5% of plastic is recycled or 9%, they're talking about all the plastic manufactured. And so even durable items like appliances, carpeting, my glasses, your cell phone case, they're talking about all the plastic manufactured. Of that 100% of manufactured plastics, 5% is the type that's recycled in our recycling program. So it does not mean that of what you put in the recycling, only 5% is recycled. And the public is misinterpreting that. And even the press is misinterpreting that and saying it in a misleading way.
Yeah, when they say, it's funny because they say only 5% is recycled. Our domestic recycling industry is that 5%. We are the 5%, and it would be more if more people recycled. So I it's kind of an amusing situation because we are the 5%. And it's a resource that is being reused so that fewer raw materials are used to produce goods.
And if any of you do have questions about different types of models of curbside or drop off where we can help increase our recycling, speak to Susan, speak to myself. We can help guide you. We can help connect you with a town that's doing something different. I met the DPW director from Pittsfield last week at the MRF, and he's just going automated dual stream basically, but automating part of his curbside collection, and he sees himself being able to increase his recycling significantly. Long Meadow, which is a dual stream community, is going to stay dual stream and go automated completely with recycling and trash, and we're very excited about thinking about that we can expand our collection of recyclables that way. So there are new models out there. Things are changing all the time. It's better for the haulers maybe to be automated. Maybe it's good for the communities too. But we're trying to work out the finances and the benefits of different models all the time. So it's an evolving industry, I believe, certainly at this time. So please ask questions. We're happy to help. Thank you. Jan, you want to tie it up?
I don't have anything to say. Thank you all for coming, and please get your contracts in by December 31st. And I'm excited about another 5 years.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.